away. Everybody look away. Shit. Okay, there we go. We're back in it. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Cool Down. Cool down.
What happened?
No, don't worry.
Luckily, Silo was looking away.
Silo was looking away. Awesome, fantastic. Well, some one man here knows how to follow instructions. Silo, Lolo, Kale, he's here today. Wonga Denga, the Dengosaurus. Earlier, guys, you missed out. Literally 2 minutes ago, the man looked like he was doing an interview for Carte Blanche. And then we've got Matty Waite, aka Matinho Mason. How you gentlemen doing this evening?
Well, good. Yourself, man. I'm even better that I saw one of the goals of the season contenders in the goal that Cavani scored at the Stretford end. So yeah, I'm buzzing right now. 1-0 to Man United. 36 minutes gone.
Okay, that's very nice. I mean, are you telling me it's going to beat this man's goal? Is that what you're saying? Is it that good? Not 95th minute. 95th minute.
That's not a goal of the season.
That's just a goal of the season.
It's got kind of a certain appeal because it's a goalkeeper. But if any other player on the field did that, it would just be a headed goal.
It's just a headed goal.
Yeah.
It's a headed goal.
It's only a big deal because the man's wearing gloves.
I've seen a better goal scored by a goalkeeper in South Africa. So a bicycle kick.
100%.
But you know what? It's all about the timing.
That was a Puskas nominee. So I've seen a better goal. So that's like, okay, well done. He scored it.
Was it scored in the 95th minute to keep his team in the Champions League race?
It was a relegation threatened team, which was Baroka against Pirates, and was helping his team stay up. Yes.
And that's a family club. Don't forget, Claudia.
It's a family club, yeah.
It literally is.
all I'm going to be doing this whole episode is whenever you guys have something nasty to say, I'm just going to do this. This side. That's all I'm going to do. Anyway, gentlemen, that's all I've got to say.
So yeah, when you say something stupid, I'm just going to Oh, at least. Oh, okay, that's a good.
I was going to say, Fulham had just scored. That was going to be a very funny moment to do that.
It would have been perfect timing. Perfect timing. Look, there are only two things I cared about this weekend, and obviously, you know the first one over here, and then the second one being the Leicester screamer, Tillemans, winning the FA Cup with that bolter. And the best part of all of it was having fans in the stands. Fans in the stands. There's a reason why that rhymes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, guys, I don't know about some of the stuff that Claudio says, but yeah, I think fans in the stands. Apparently, fans in the stands. It kind of rhymes. I don't know. He's about to be a hip hop artist. But that was a screamer. What a shot! It was so funny the fact that Chelsea scored from a VAR goal, and they're celebrating and sliding. Giroud and Chilwell are sliding. And there's like this guy. I don't know if you guys seen this video on Twitter where there's those guys who are like in the stadium, like, and then like 10 seconds later, it's like,
yeah.
It's just classic. I just loved it. I loved it. I can just imagine that's how Musa was. And I think that's why Musa's not on the show, by the way. It's because he lost the FA Cup final.
Well, no, it wasn't just the FA Cup final. It was losing to Wonga on the Thursday evening, Arsenal beating them.
Oh, yeah.
And then, on the Wednesday, and then also losing the FA Cup final. Now all of a sudden he's missing in action. Also, just shout out to Lelo. Lelo, thank you for making it, my man. I haven't spoken to you in a long time. I suppose this is a good place for us to start chatting. Yeah,
how's it, Lelo?
He's a diehard Liverpool fan, guys. So I'm enjoying it when the guys in the comments are all Liverpool fans, and I'm happy.
Yeah, my fan base is watching the game, unfortunately, so I don't think they'll be on tonight. They'll probably watch a repeat. So let's give them a good show to watch back after we beat Fulham.
Look, there's not going to be much for them to talk about because you should be beating Fulham. So I don't know about this game tonight.
Well, it's the goal of the season contender.
No, but hang on. Goal of the season against Fulham. Does that even count? Fighting for nothing. You see, these are the sort of metrics you need to take into consideration when there is a goal of the season.
Does a goal of the season count against West Brom?
No, but let's weigh them up. No, but let's weigh them up, guys. Let's weigh them up. Liverpool fighting top four. Goalkeeper goes all the way up. No one expects him to do anything. He scores 95th minute. Tillemans' goal. FA Cup wins the FA Cup. That is a goal. Those are the sort of conditions I'm talking about. But when we talk about goal of the season, it's not just goal of the season.
So we're saying if Cavani, if Man United had laboured and were still drawing with a relegated side already in the 95th minute, and then Cavani did that goal,
but what
then
if
it's goal of the season.
No. What are Man United fighting for? If they were fighting for the league, then I would say yes.
Well, they still have to. They're not guaranteed second yet, are they?
Yeah, we need to get. We 4 points ahead of Leicester. So we need to get what?
At least 2 points or what?
Yeah, at least 2 points or whatever.
One more win, you guarantee.
One more win, and then exactly. You know what I mean? So that's exactly that. So this is us securing our second spot. You know, so it is meaningful. So let's just carry on and talk about Leicester and Chelsea.
Maybe it's not as meaningful.
No, they win this,
it's not as meaningful.
They win this, they secure it.
Exactly.
So look here. They win this one, they secured it.
Yeah,
it is meaningful.
So it's meaningful.
Yeah.
Meaningful, but you guys get what I'm saying.
That goal is
what I'm saying, there have been other goals, but I'm saying if you got to take the significance of this goal versus other ones, when we're taking, and we're putting them next to each other and we're saying goal of the season, that's what I'm saying. These are the things that need to be considered. That's all I'm saying.
But Liverpool put themselves there, bro.
Because they like keeping us on the line there. All right, guys, but let's actually talk about the game. Did any of you watch because no one said anything about this Chelsea Leicester game. Everyone's like, okay.
I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights. I watched the highlights, but yeah, go Wonga.
Oh yeah, I was saying in terms of the Chelsea Leicester game, they for me that at the end of it, I felt I saw all the celebrations and you saw we've been talking about owners and all this stuff, and I even saw Ian Wright mention it after the game as well, when the Leicester owner was there with the fans, and then they even dedicated the win to the late owner. I think a lot of people did. Yeah, they literally dedicated to him, and everyone was in that same sort of everyone had that same sort of sentiment towards the game and the win, and then you look back at Arsenal and you're wondering, would that have if we had won, you don't see I doubt you'd see the owner there.
Like on his ranch in Texas, he gives zero shits about Arsenal.
And Ian Wright was saying, Ian Wright's words were, he's actually very, very jealous that those guys could actually be sitting with the owner and celebrating the manner that they did. And
I think a couple of years back, you remember there was even a time where Roman Abramovich went to celebrate with his players. I think even him, I think there is a connection between him and the players. Whereas I've never seen the other owners go and celebrate with the players. It's just Abramovich and obviously like the Leicester owner. I don't think the family club even they can do that as well. They're part of their family, but even they can't do that.
I will say this about the family club: the first lady of the family club is a diehard supporter of the mascot. If it wasn't for her, the mascot wouldn't be alive. So at least she'd be on the field next to the mascot. I don't know about the actual the president being on the field, but his wife will be on the field next to the mascot. So let's not say we're talking about Leicester and their owners again. I think Wonga brings up a valid point. What, Matt? What?
You take pride in the strangest things, bro. Like Firmino, for example, is a player who you have to look at the stuff he does off the ball. What a footballer!
But the man's got the whitest teeth in the game.
It's just
he's got the whitest teeth in the game. Why can you not like that?
You've got one up on Arsenal, I guess, because you guys didn't fire your mascot because the owner has a soft spot for your mascot. That's great.
Yeah, better club for it. I'm just gonna put that out there. Better club for it. Yeah, but let's reel it in a little bit. Wonga makes a valid point. If you did watch the game and you saw the owner come onto the field, set up, and you could actually see the players crying with them, seeing them, and that was one of the things we were going. We've just gone through this whole thing. A lot of United want their owners out. Liverpool want their owners out. Everyone. Spurs had 3 guys protesting to get Daniel Levy out. I mean, everyone wants their owners out, and then here you see the Leicester owner who actually gives a shit about the community in Leicester, and they have from day one. And that's where you just go, geez, how do you find guys like this? That's made everyone envious.
What we've seen over the last sort of month or so is a real difference between some of the top 6, the big 6, whatever we're going to call them now, the 6 guys who went to the ESL, and some of the other clubs, and you look at how Everton reacted to the ESL as well. They also put out a really smart statement, really talking about the community roots and the importance of the fundamentals of traditional football and that. And I think it really has highlighted the massive gap between the way our clubs are kind of run and how the ownership see football as a money-making kind of vehicle compared to some of these other clubs who see football the way we do, and that emotional release. And I mean, I think it's a fantastic story for Leicester. There's awesome stories all up and down the whole thing. I mean, Jamie Vardy turning up being the only player who's ever played in every round of the FA Cup, and now he's won it. I mean, that's a fantastic story on its own. Never mind all of the other stuff around what they've done. So they just had a really good story to tell on the day. It wasn't great football. I saw highlights. It doesn't look like either side really played up to that, but that often happens in cup finals because there's a lot of nerves and all of that. But I think on balance, Leicester probably did deserve it. I think they showed a lot of quality there. And I think Chelsea, and also to the fact that Chelsea really didn't live up to what we've seen them be able to do in other games this season. I think that was very telling, and that makes a big difference. I think it'll be a warning sign for Chelsea if they're going to go in to the Champions League final with the same kind of mentality. They're going to get punished. Because City, on the other hand, have been winning. You know, they've shown they've got BMT. They've shown they'll put in the same level of performance in every game. And Chelsea are going to struggle if they could potentially still end up having their entire season unraveled. I was reading the numbers today. It's very close between where that top four could end up. I mean, Spurs could finish as low as 10th this season, I think. And I think that's, or is it 14th, for 10th or 7th or something? But there's still a lot. Spurs could drop really low down. And that same Chelsea could drop right out of the top four quite easily. So there's still a lot to play for. And getting that BMT right for them 3 games is going to be huge. They've got a lot to still play for.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel like Chelsea were that child, like they were the kids at school who had a lot of homework and they just focused on too many tests right now, and they didn't know which one to actually focus and study on, because they looked at the Arsenal game saying they're going to focus on the weekend, and then they didn't manage to come together on the weekend, and now they're thinking about top 4, and now all of a sudden top 4 is becoming an issue.
Too much.
Tonight's game, and then there's the champion, and now there is that risk of them dropping all the balls, which, I mean, I'm not going to complain if that does happen, obviously. But the question with regards to Leicester going, we know now, talking about family clubs, they're the family club. Okay, they're being run pretty well. They've just built this brand new facility from a training perspective. The manager has full reign as to whatever he wants to do, and you can see that the relationship he has with the owner. I mean, it's visible. There's nothing subvert about any of it. So you mentioned the top 6, Matt. Obviously, Spurs, we're going to talk about the possibility of Kane leaving the club and where that leaves them. But Leicester City, in terms of breaking this top 6 mold, in terms of the next couple of years, or at least next season, they're doing it now. Is that a real possibility, especially with Rodgers at the helm?
Oh, hugely. I think even without Rodgers, I think they've built a system there. They've got the fundamentals in place. They've got an incredible squad. They've got the amazing facilities, like you said. I think what they've done is set themselves up really nicely. And I think the challenge they're going to have, and it's much like a couple of other clubs we've seen over the past years, and Spurs are probably one of them. Spurs had an opportunity, sort of 16-17 season. They had a fantastic squad, really good energy, and they missed their window. There was a lack of investment that followed that between the move from the old White Hart Lane to the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And they kind of fell off it, and now we're suffering. Spurs are in a really bad position where quite conceivably it's easy to debate, are they going to be top 6 next season? Never mind, should they be targeting more? And Leicester are in that position now where they've really got to say, we're going to make a go of this, we're going to get back to where we were. And this is a squad with quality. It's a manager who knows what he's doing. And they've also got the goodwill of the fan base behind them. I think when they get fans back in the stadium, if it is full stadiums again next season, they're going to be buzzing and ready to go. So I think there's every chance. Yeah, I reckon if they can pull it off, if they can avoid I think if they do drop out of the top 4, I think that'll be a big psychological blow for them. I think and we've seen how those things carry on into the start of the next season. But I think if they can hold on and FA Cup and a top 4 finish, I think they're going to come in strong next season, and they could be a real contender.
Yeah, I reckon that last game of the season against Spurs, where they'll be playing at the King Power. Obviously tomorrow tonight's at Stamford Bridge, but the game, the last game of the season is at the King Power. That game, the fans are going to be in there. The 10,000 fans are going to be making a noise. They'll probably even come out with a trophy to say, hey guys, those who didn't make it to Wembley, whatever, and they'll make sure that they don't lose that game. If the scenario is they just need a point, they will make sure that they get the point. Because if you remember last season when they had to play Man United the last game of the season, there were no fans in the stadium. And Man United beat them to secure the top 4, and then they got out of top 4. So I think that feeling of winning the FA Cup and having fans back for last game of the season, that top 4 is going to be on the line.
But wait a minute. So look, you're talking about the last game, but there's the game tonight, the Chelsea-Leicester game. like
That's a huge one.
that's the big one. And I know you're talking about going into...
Claudio, listen. If the Leicester lose tonight, right, and they win the last game of the season, they're in top 4. They don't care what they should be in top 4. I think their goal difference is better than yours. I think. If correct me if I'm wrong. Rather, if maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's 21-21.
Okay, so then it'll be a goal difference situation. But I think in that instance, it will be in their hands. You know what I mean? The top 4 will be in their hands. It won't be that you have to wait. But
they're not going to go out tonight trying to lose. And I think that's... we might as well... I know you're not saying that. But what I'm saying is, instead of focusing on the last game, I'm not missing the points. I get what you're saying. But what I'm saying... I'm not missing the points. What I'm saying is... I'm not missing the points.
It's affecting you. That's why you're missing my point.
It's not affecting me, and I'm not missing the...
Because you
All I'm saying is, you're talking about the last game, but if they can walk away from something here, so we should actually be analyzing this game and saying, okay... Well, what's going to happen here?
I was adding the whole fan situation compared to last season. It will add.
I agree. I think that's a valid point.
Whereas last season,
the next game,
they lost to Man United in the last game at the King Power, and there were no fans. But this time there'll be fans at least in a match that might be top 4 at stake. Yes, they might secure it tonight, by winning. They might secure it by winning tonight, because that would mean that Chelsea won't be able to catch them. Right, that's what a win tonight means for them. That Chelsea won't be able to catch them, and then secure it for them. And then the last match, then they don't have to worry. Yes, I get that, Claudio. I was just saying different scenario.
Yeah, I think you guys are agreeing really aggressively, basically.
Hey, Arjun, man, how's it, man? Al Matador, man. Al Matador.
I don't think the Matadors use bow and arrows. I haven't watched a lot of bullfighting, but I thought that was a different kind of sport.
That Matador does it, bro. He pulls it out. And it goes.
That's a bit unfair on the bull, you know? Bull's there, that's not how
Lelo doesn't agree with you, Selo. I'm just saying, Selo, there's no agreement. Again,
I think he was talking about the goal difference, but...
well, I'm just using it to my...
Yes. Right,
as you were saying,
your words to suit my argument.
Arjun, welcome back, man. We appreciate having you here yet again. Matt, you were saying something, though. You were talking about this game, tonight's game, not the last game of the fixture.
I agree with Selo that the last game, and I think the fact that it's against Spurs does worry me, because I think Leicester are just on a high, and they get back and they'll have their fans. They get to show off that trophy. It is going to be a tough one. And if Spurs are still dependent upon getting points out of that game to secure anything, it's going to be a tough one. But tonight, I think, is actually probably more important for Chelsea. I think Chelsea, they have to show they can get back to business. They've had now 2 bad results in a row. And, arguments aside about conditions, cup finals, all of that stuff, whatever, they've got to show that they can do the job. They've got to get out there. This is their last home game. I think they've got to make it count. They need to beat Leicester and kind of prove their top 4 credentials. And this kind of make or break how we're going to define Tuchel's first season with Chelsea. They lose this game, they drop out of top 4 potentially. That's going to give it a certain flavour. His first full season in England played in the Europa League is going to be a tough one to take. So I think they've got to get it right tonight from a Chelsea perspective. And Leicester have that freedom. They can afford to potentially not win tonight and still come back and win their next one against us and then secure their top 4. So I don't think they'll play to lose, but they're going to be playing with a little bit more mental freedom, because they're not going to be under the same pressure as Chelsea to get a result. And I think this is probably the most important game of tonight. It will be the Chelsea-Leicester one in terms of what it means. And in that sense, I wouldn't want to be, and maybe that's why Moose in here, I don't know if I'd want to have to chat about that tonight if I was him. I think it's probably been rough. Plus, last time we saw him, he's basically been hovering off of his chair with excitement about everything that Chelsea does. So when he finally comes back, he's going to end up not winning the FA Cup and dropping out of the top 4. He's going to have a face like a smack bum.
And no Champions League either. I don't think he's going to get I think they're going to walk away with nothing. I actually think there's a huge risk. There's a huge risk there. Wonga, you laughing because you had some things to say. You might as well say it now. You've been waiting. He's not here. We can always send him the clip afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's great because like Matt was saying, he was on a high. My nice London rival there.
He was too
always every week tuning me. And deservedly so. They had the bragging rights. But how nice it would be to sit here to watch them fumble every single thing. Because literally, the only thing they'll have is if they fumble everything, the only thing they'll have is they probably won't miss Europe. No, they won't miss Europe. Yeah, but they can actually. They can. But I doubt they will do that. I doubt they'll miss Europe. But if that happens, then we'll be in the same boat. And I just missed that high. That's all.
I think what's kind of interesting. Remember, we checked the other day. There hasn't been since 1994. There hasn't been since there was last not a London side in the top four.
Top four, okay.
So that'll be another record broken for the season if it does happen. Arjun, come on, man, leave the guy alone. Give him something.
Give him something to hang on there, Arjun. Man, at least they beat Chelsea, man. You just giving this knocking the man down while he's down.
Conference League.
Hey.
But I think what space is it? 8th or 7th that goes to the conference?
7th.
So Spurs will end up. I think Spurs will be lucky to get the conference.
No, it'll be 8th because isn't it that the FA Cup winner is supposed to take the other spot, but because Leicester will qualify, then 7th goes to Europa, and then it's pushed down, I think. Yeah, so I think it could be Arsenal, Everton, Villa, Tottenham. Yeah. But won't you guys finish 7th? I think.
Well, we've got to beat Villa and not lose to Leicester, I think, to be guaranteed that. So I don't know. I think Arsenal could still finish above us, as horrible as it sounds. I mean, it's unlikely because Arsenal have to then, score goals and win games and stuff. But it's not impossible. So stranger things have happened.
Gents, just to wrap up here, what are we thinking is going to happen here tonight? If we're going to lean between or towards this side, which blue side are we going to say is going to take this one? Because this is defining pretty much.
I'm starting with the London side tonight. I think
Chelsea. They've made some changes to the lineup. It's from what I can see. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a draw. I think Leicester are going to be playing with a lot of freedom. I think Chelsea are going to be really tense. So I think it's going to be sort of a 1-1, 2-2. Unless maybe a keeper goes up and does a bicycle kick in the 95th minute just to show off a bit, maybe.
It's been a crazy year of football. We wouldn't count that out or rule that out just yet. Bunga.
Yeah, I think I also agree. I think Chelsea probably will be the team on top, but I think with the 2 losses they've had in a row now, they would. I think the confidence would be there's probably something that's a bit unsettling there, and so they probably need to get rid of that. But Leicester are probably the team on the high, but also the win is as important to them. So so they're not going to be backing down. It won't be an easy one for the team.
Will Leicester have the effect of the hangover from the victory on Saturday?
Yeah, I think they could. They could have a bit of a hangover, I guess. But I think Chelsea have a lot to play for today. I'm not saying they didn't have much to play for on the weekend, but they've got a lot to play for today. You can't be taking too many chances in this league. You need to make sure that you secure your spot in the league and do it. Any team can beat anyone on its day, so you can't say that Spurs are going to beat Leicester. You need to beat Leicester yourself before your last game of the season. So I think Chelsea will have more to play for. It's going to be exciting into the season with the top 4.
More talk about the top 4. Brighton won, West Ham won, guys. I mean, this is surely tickets now for West Ham. There's no coming back.
Surely the first thing we got to talk about is that pass from Percy Tau. Wow, what a pass! Oof, I had the needle pass. Clean. What a pass! Finally got some minutes. But I think as you said, West Ham's top 4 hopes are done. Like they just have to hope for Europa now.
Well, the top 4 is such a mess at the moment. Mathematically, West Ham could also drop down as low as 10th. They could end up missing out on Europe altogether. It is so tight. Like, it really is crazy. And there's a lot of sides going for it. There's a lot of sides who are going to finish this season hugely disappointed. The Spurs are one of them. You look at what Spurs were doing earlier in the season. Whatever happens now, they're going to have a disappointing end. West Ham as well. If you'd offered them this at the beginning of the season to be fighting for Europa League right at the end, they would have bitten your hand off. But now that they're here, I'd feel disappointed. We were right there. They were right there. They were so close. And then,
but at least they've got West Brom and Southampton for their last 2 games. I'm not saying it's easy games, but I'm saying at least
You'd expect them to do the job.
They can challenge. They can challenge.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they can actually win the game. You know, or try and win the game. You know, at least at 6 points. If 6 points for them gets them to 65 points, which currently would be fourth, but that would mean all the teams above them lose their remaining 2 games, and that's no given in this league.
Nah, not at the moment. So I think West Ham must be hugely disappointed. But in a way, it's also a credit to them that we're now saying they must be disappointed with where they're at. None of us would have picked them to be at this stage at this late in the season. So they've had a fantastic season, and I do think they've got a squad they could build on it. I think they've got some real talent in there. I don't know if they're going to hold on to Lingard. I think he's shown himself to be worth a lot. I think Man United will probably.
You think Mourinho will take him to Roma? Because he's trying to sign all his old players back. He's trying to take them all back to Roma.
Why not? I think it'd be good for Lingard to leave United permanently. I think he's shown that he's got the talent to perform. I don't think United is going to get. There's a whole. We've chatted about it before. The whole psychological thing when you come up through a club and you're playing for your boyhood club, it's a lot harder to step out of a certain mold. I think he deserves another crack at it, whether it's in the Premier League or out. I think he should go for it, and you know, because he's such a talent, he should be doing more than he is.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I definitely agree. He should definitely be sold. I think Man United in the past sometimes they've held on to players longer than what they should have, and should have signed and sold them at certain parts. And I think in this instance we need to learn from the past and sell Lingard now for a good £25 million. We can definitely get that, and that will obviously add to our transfer spend for the season, which we do need those funds because our owners don't really take out much money, so we need that 25
especially
million.
when they want to sign Harry Kane. Then we're going to need as many funds as they have with Daniel Levy there. Graham Potter, guys. Graham Potter. Is he staying at Brighton? I know that they've said
Spurs.
Spurs will take him. I mean, but would you want to leave? Would you want to leave? That's the other thing. And go to Spurs. I mean, we've seen what Spurs have done to their last 2 managers. I don't know. Would you really want to take that chance?
I think it's hard. I mean, it's you know, obviously I'm not an objective observer at all, but as a manager, you know, when you look at what happened to someone like Eddie Howe, where for so long he was being talked about for the big jobs, he didn't end up taking one, or he didn't get offered one at the right time. Then Bournemouth went down and no one's talking about him again. He's kind of missed his opportunity. Someone like Potter's in that situation where he's being talked about for, Spurs are on a downward slope at the moment. They've had some bad results. There's a lot of stuff going off behind the scenes. But for someone like him, this may be his opportunity to make the step up. And if he doesn't take it, he may not get another one. The flip side is you take it at the wrong time and it goes wrong. Someone like Moyes, it took Moyes so long to build his name back up after the United job. So it's also it is a difficult one for managers. It's not a career path I envy in terms of the risk and all of that. Although the reward is pretty great, I wouldn't mind getting fired for £30 million. So you know, I think he should go for it. I think from what I've read, he looks.
Imagine getting fired for £30 million and then getting a job the next week while he's still getting paid out £30 million. I mean, wow. And if he gets fired at the next place, you get paid out again. Only if you're Mourinho, though. I don't know how he manages that, but that's incredible. Anyway.
Exactly. And I think in that sense, based on what he's done at Brighton, I think Potter would be a good fit for Spurs. Considering where we are and what we're going to have to do, especially if we lose Kane, we're going to be in a rebuild phase. He's shown he's got the ability to do that with Brighton, like the work he's done in terms of bringing through the younger players, building a system. They're a well-drilled side. They do the basics right. And I think that's the kind of thing we could use at Spurs. That said, I don't know if it's a move he would want to make, you know, as much as I've said this. It really is up in the air, and I don't think it's an easy job to try to find a manager for Spurs at the moment. It's not, and you know, you guys have heard me say, just give it to Mason for a year. Let's see what happens.
All right, guys. Arjun's asking us a question. Everyone choose one signing for your respective team this summer. He's saying Sancho to Man United. Out of all the players, that's who he's going with. So let's hear it. Bonga Denga. Arjun's also asking you, Bonga, if Jack Grealish is going to Arsenal.
He's one of those guys, because apparently that's what Arsenal fans are saying now.
Yeah, like all the signings at Arsenal, I see for Arsenal, I don't know how we're going to sign these people, especially that if we don't have Europe. I mean, why would Grealish leave Aston Villa? I mean, we're literally in the same position with the same team. I can't understand it. Why would you want to leave Aston Villa for Arsenal?
Yeah, someone like him,
we've got problems. We've got huge problems. It's more than just the way we play, you know. So I don't know if you would be advised to do such a thing. and sound like Kamaving. Come on, I think those guys were saying these things. I mean, some of the
That's
stuff
crazy,
that I
bro.
can't remember many of them, but they kind of hopeful. I don't even
So
think
who
we'll
are you
keep
going to sign?
Odegaard.
Who are you
I
going to
really don't
sign?
know. I don't know. I can't even lie to you. I don't know. I think the thing they're going to do, the best thing I think for Arsenal now is just to build on what they have. If they're going to be signing people, maybe they're getting youngsters, or looking in the ranks that they have already. But I don't see them signing any big names or people that are going to be.
Also,
helping
how
us
do
out.
you
So
sign
I
a
saw-
big name and expect Arteta to deal with the big name? He hasn't earned that right. No one's going to want to go to Arsenal for Arteta. They're going to want to go to Arsenal for London and a cushy lifestyle and finish mid-table and get paid decent wages and have their wives buy and shop on Oxford Street. Is that the right street? I think that's the right one. Hey, Matt.
I
Yeah,
saw-
that's the right one.
It is, I mean,
I
these
saw
days you've got to
something
do it
where-
online anyway, but you know.
Although, yeah,
I mean,
Arjun's saying Basuma. I mean, this is a player, and I'm going to step in here, Arjun, because this is a player being linked with Liverpool as well. And if you've got to choose between the two, who do you think is going to go to? But I think one
Exactly.
definite player coming into Liverpool is going to be Konate from RB Leipzig. That's going to be the centre back because Liverpool aren't going to renew or take up the option to buy Ozan Kabak. That's one thing I know for certain. So that's who they're going to be bringing in. That's obviously from the Liverpool camp. Silo from the United camp. I know you're watching a lot of games there, but what do you think is happening? Obviously, Arjun's saying Sancho. We know Kane's being thrown out there. We're going to talk about where Kane lands up later. But right now,
I think definitely the essential one I think is the one that I think I'd also go for because all the other stuff is up in the air. The centre back talk is up in the air. There's talk about Varane. There's talk about what's this guy's name? Kunde. So it's just a lot of talk. But there's also talk about Trippier to come in at right back as well. But I think definitely I'll say Sancho will be the one I think that will get over the line. Especially because he wants to come back to England. And we've already got personal terms agreed from last season. So we just need to revive that and pay the 90 million euros that Dortmund want.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean,
why not?
I just don't know. I think, if I'm weighing, we're going to talk about it later. I'm not going to talk about that stuff right now.
Yeah, no,
Arjun.
We won't sign Harry Kane. Daniel Levy wants 150 million pounds. We won't sign him.
But he is what you guys need to compete with City. You know what I mean? Like to push them to the next level, to make it toe-to-toe. If Man United signed a Harry Kane, I think that helps them. That pushes them into the next echelon.
But 150 million pounds, don't see it happening.
yeah.
JP Morgan, guys, debt financing. This is the bread and butter of the Glazers.
Well, I mean, you say that. I saw today talk that Salah could be on his way to PSG. Well, why don't you guys finance a 150 million move for Harry Kane to Liverpool?
Because you guys don't have a striker as well.
A big move has been in the wing,
and he's a family man. You're a family club.
Exactly.
I mean,
you know,
works
out nicely. You know what I mean? He's an English boy.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about that. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here. We need to talk about.
We might as well speak about it. Why not?
No, because we've got other things we need to cover. For example, the Spurs Wolves game. I mean, we've got the Mount. The Mount. What am I saying? I'm thinking Mason. What I'm saying,
it's just Mason.
It's Mason. You've got Mason. Yeah, he's got to win. Yeah, like when you're looking at the starting lineup here against Wolves, it's kind of the starting lineup most people put together if you're playing FIFA. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking, you got Andy, you got Kane.
I don't like the fact that it doesn't use Ndombele anymore, man. I'm very concerned.
I think just that he's been changing the system a little bit. I mean, you even saw Højbjerg was playing far more advanced than he has in the past. All through Mourinho's era, Højbjerg was very defensive, very screen-like. And now he's doing a job that's similar to what Ndombele used to do for us. So I think there's a sense that they don't necessarily need both those players at the same time. I still like Ndombele. I like the energy he brings to us, I think.
Exactly, man.
But at the same time, I think the way we were set up at Wolves was... I mean, there was the first half an hour was a bit worrying. I thought we were a little bit maybe nervous or something. I think the Leeds game kind of shook us a bit. that said, over the course of the game, they grew into it. Both Dyer and Alderweireld had good games, which they didn't at Leeds. And I think that made a big difference in terms of the end result. Did Fulham just score, Celo?
Yeah, Celo, what's going on? Either that or it's got a migraine.
No, Bruno just almost scored an amazing free kick. I can't believe it. I thought it was in.
You can't do that for that.
I thought it was in, guys.
We need a body language rule here.
This is false advertising. Goal line is nothing about false advertising here.
That's what kind of emotion is that? I asked Arjun, I thought that was in. I thought that was top bins.
Arjun is watching Man City game.
I was about to say top bins.
So, as I was saying, it was a good result. It was a good result for Spurs. It was a solid performance. It was good to see us playing on the front foot, and they grew into it. And I think over the course of the game, it didn't feel like Wolves. Look, also it's got to be said, this was Wolves have been this way for the whole season. This was a substandard Wolves. They haven't had a great season, and they've shown that they've missed Jimenez a big time this season, and what's his name? Yeah. That dude who was playing up front for them, Fabio Silva. He's not a like-for-like replacement. Still very young, very raw. His movement wasn't great. His composure in front of goal wasn't great because there was a few opportunities where someone more experienced of him might have been able to trouble us. And I think there's a kind of something to be said, that something that's for Spurs to learn is there is still moments where we're giving people space behind that we don't need to. And I still miss that. When we had Vertonghen and Alderweireld in their prime, there was never space in our box. No one ever got space like that to just make room for themselves and put a shot away. And I think that's something to worry about going forward. I still would like to see Mason find a way for Ndombele and Højbjerg to play next to each other, because I really like that midfield pairing. But I understand what he's doing as well, because he's pushing Højbjerg forward. I mean, that's the first time Højbjerg scored and assisted in a Premier League game or in any game for Spurs. So he had a fantastic performance. And it was nice because since Mourinho left, Højbjerg hasn't really put in a solid performance. He's been a bit kind of unsure of his role. And against Wolves, he was really good. He was moving the ball really nicely. He's getting into good positions. His passing range has always been phenomenal, but it's becoming more offensive. His passes used to be very kind of square, and he's moving them forward. And that freed up a lot of space for Ali and Bale in particular to kind of do some things down the wings. And you saw some really clever moves that they were doing. And I think that it shows there's a lot of potential there. That said, it's all going to be meaningless if we lose Kane, because we have to completely rethink the way we do things. Kane doesn't just score goals for Spurs.
He's staying at the club now, right? He's staying. It's one of those situations where the player would look like he's on his way out of the club. He's probably going to be the big player for you guys next season, given what happens.
It'd be fantastic. It would be an awesome story to see us come out next season having lost Kane and build our side around Ali, because he's such a phenomenal talent and he really can do everything. I think it was 2 or 3 nutmegs he pulled off against Wolves at the weekend, and it was just fantastic to see him playing with that freedom. And it would be awesome to then build a side around him and maybe we'll have to bring in players to replace Kane. I mean, Kane does so much for us. It's not just the goals. That's the thing, the headline grabbing part. But how often do you see Kane sort of just in front of our penalty box, picking up the ball and spraying a pass that opens up half the pitch for us? He's so influential. We're going to miss a lot more than just the goals if we do lose Kane. And I think we might hold on to him for another season because he's signed up for such a long-term contract, and because Levy's not going to budge on his price, we might still keep him for a season. And I think Kane is a professional enough that he'll still give 110% in every game, because that's the kind of player he is. But we are going to eventually lose him, and when we do, it's going to be a massive task to replace him. That said, if someone comes in with 150, Levy's, he's a businessman. He's going to take it. Whether it's United or City or PSG, if someone offers 150 million, he'll take it. And then he'll do what he did when we sold Bale, which is buy 8 players you've never heard of. 2 or 3 of them will work out, and the rest will kind of just shuffle off into the distance.
You got to use the money wisely, because you saw Bale left, they bought Lamela, Bale comes back, Lamela's on the bench. Imagine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Lamela's still there, but apparently Mourinho wants to take him to Roma. Another one that he wants to take back and
Lamela,
regroup. Yeah, Lamela apparently is being linked to Roma. Interesting. He's trying to get the old gang back together there.
But that's the thing, is that a lot of these English players that not English players, but a lot of these players in the Premier League that have done okay-ish, some of them, and some of them are coming maybe to the end of their time with their clubs. They are doing well in Serie A. You look at Ashley Young, you look at Eriksen. Lukaku is still at his peak of his powers. Darmian Damian is also still playing there. You know what I mean? And there's Chris Smalling. So there's a couple of players that are going to Serie A to revive their careers. So I can definitely see. And apparently, Ashley Young is going to come back to the Premier League and go to his boyhood club, Watford. Apparently, so that's some romance for us to look into next season. But I think
your age there, Stelo. Wonga didn't know that was his boyhood club.
Yeah. Also, you know what? He should know because this is Mike Ashley's brother, or Ashley Young's brother, Mike Ashley. I'm getting so confused with all the names today. Ashley Young. I'm saying Mason Mount. You know what? There's too many names that are similar here. This is a problem.
Must we get you? Are you getting a bit older? We must get you one of those files with the pictures and the names on.
Please, the little label tags, the name tags. So I can make highlights, get my glasses on there.
I have a personal assistant whispering the names in your ear.
Goodness, yeah, Ashley Young.
But it'd be interesting to find out where. I don't know if I mean I read about the Kane situation, but I don't know where. Do you know, Matt? Where is? I know he said he doesn't want to be at the club. Then does he have a preference where he'd like to be? Like
all I've read, the only thing, and at this stage, he hasn't released an official statement, so it's all secondhand. But apparently, he has said he wants to stay in the Premier League, which makes sense. I think a player like him is going to want to win the Premier League and stuff.
Not even just Premier League. I think it's also stats. Like he wants to be. I'm telling you, in his mind, he wants to be the greatest of all time. Yeah. So
and that makes sense. And he's got the talent. He's got the ability. So and which on the one hand, kind of it breaks a Spurs fan's heart, but it's happened to us before. So maybe not on as big a scale as losing Kane, but you think about in the past, Berbatov went to United, Sheringham went to United, and Carrick went to United. A lot of guys go to United back when you guys still used to spend money. More recently, obviously, Bale went to Real Madrid, Modric went to Real Madrid. We lose players who are, and at the time, it always feels like, how are we ever going to overcome this? And something, the team evolves and we change. It takes a bit of time. Kane is going to be a much bigger loss than any of those, I think. But that said, I think it would be hard for most Spurs fans to hold it against him. It's not going to be like other times where guys have left and it's felt a bit like, oh, you didn't need to do that. I think this time around, a lot of us, because he even said when he signed his new contract, he said, oh, if I'm still at Spurs in 3 years and we haven't won anything, then it'll feel a bit rough. And at the time we were like, that'll never happen. We're going to win everything. And then obviously we started a slow spiral descent into this chaos. So it would be, I think we all kind of knew that sooner or later this was going to happen. Like I said, I still think it's a possibility that we'll hold on to him for one more season, just because I think Levy's going to drive a hard bargain. I don't know how many clubs are prepared to spend that kind of money at the moment. But then after that, then the power shift will move more in Kane's favor because he's going to be getting closer to the end of his contract. So it'll be, I think, we'll have to see how it goes.
I also think it could be a situation where he stays another season. A lot of people have compared it to the when Ronaldo left situation at United, where Sir Alex Ferguson convinced him to stay one more season, and he said, "I promise you can leave next season." And what happened the next season? He allowed him to leave. So I think people are speculating that could happen, especially because of the 150 million that has been thrown around. Obviously, we don't know that's the real figure. Man City don't spend that kind of money. Man City spends 60 million. That's what Man City does. Man City, all their players that they've bought have all cost 60 million. Sterling, Diaz, Stones, all these guys cost 52, 55, 60. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these guys, none of these Man City players are above 60 million. And that's how they've almost done their transfer business. They signed 3 players, 60, and then under 200, type of spend instead of 150 on one player. So I think definitely that could be a scenario.
That said, this is a slightly different situation for City because in the past they've needed more. They've needed a couple of different players. If you look at what they've got now, they've got a pretty perfect system, but they're losing Aguero. And Kane as a replacement for Aguero would be huge. So they 100%. May also take the punt on it simply because of what that could mean for them. But I agree with what you're saying. They tend to have a couple of big signings for those kind of 50 to 60 sums. So it really just depends. This would break the mold. Look, let's be honest. This would break the mold for any club in the Premier League. No one spent that kind of money on a single player. So if any of the Premier League clubs come in with that kind of offer, it'll be record breaking and game changing for all involved. And I do wonder, I think it's going to, the sooner it gets sorted out. I know Kane has said he wants it sorted out before the Euros. And I think Spurs need to do that because in the past, Spurs have had this habit of leaving it really late. Levy bargains right until the last minute, and then we've got no time to bring in replacements and bed them down, and then it's absolute bedlam and chaos trying to sort things out. And I think if we are going to do this, if this is going to happen, I prefer that it gets done fairly early and then allow players time to settle and whoever the new manager is. Because if you think about it, we're going to be probably bringing in a new manager, potentially 6 or 7 new players in replacement for Kane. There'll be a lot of work to do in Tottenham's pre-season, which is going to be disrupted by the Euros, and Spurs have a lot of players playing at the Euros too. So it is going to be.
You're not even going to have a pre-season. That's the interesting thing. You're not going to have a pre-season. Regardless, it's going to be a shit show for Spurs because you don't have a new manager. The new manager needs to spend time with his squad, with Kane or without Kane. So if you Kane, realistically, it's been mentioned here already. The Oaks he wants to leave. He wants to win things. So we know that's not a secret. We also know that Pep Guardiola has had him on his wish list in the past. But they have just won the league without a striker, and they have signed Torres, and he hasn't had much part of it to play this season, but he did just score a hat-trick, and there's a reason why Pep signed a player like him. So he'll always be tinkering, always finding a way. So then it's just whether or not they want to spend their money on a player like this going, we've just won the league without. And then the question starts going, Chelsea, Man United, if I really want to push on and kick on to the next gear and compete with the City, do we splash the cash to land this guy who's really, really going to help us evolve? And it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Wonga, before we move on, you want to have your say on this too?
No, I think I agree with you, Claudio, in that sense. I think in this this economic climate right now, I think everyone's going to be making. You can't just be buying Kane just because you want Kane. You've got to look at the whole situation. I think if at Man United as well, I think the only reason someone would buy, not the only reason, but the guys, they are under pressure to make a signing, a proper signing, and they're going to probably sign him just for that sake, but not for the sake that they actually need him.
True.
I don't doubt that Kane can do well in any team, but a team like Man City will say, look, he'll be nice to have in the team, but looking at the economic climate, we're in the Champions League final, like Claudia said, we're in the Champions League final, we've just won the league. Do we spend 150 million on a striker to make a difference in our team? Do we need that much of a difference, really? We could go look for a better player for half the price, really. And I'm pretty sure you can, if you look properly, find someone to replace Ogoro for half the price. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's. But that said, there's also an argument to say if City don't take him and they let United take him, they'll kick themselves later. So
it's the Van Persie situation again.
Yeah, and I think that's it's going to be
United rather than City.
Yeah. So it's going to be either way. It's going to be the big transfer story of the summer. I think I'm going to get sick of hearing it. So get my opinion on it now, and then never talk to me about it again. I don't care.
That's funny actually, Matt, that you mentioned that. That'll be. That's also another thing as well, because Kane wants to stay in the Premier League. So now the question is, who gets him first? That is also another thing.
Feels like the race for the moon. Wonga, Arjun's asking you: is Leno leaving Arsenal, or isn't he? Is he staying?
Oof. Look at the current situation. Leno said he said he wants to leave. And if I'm looking at the way where we're going to finish, if things end up that we don't, and it's probably likely that we don't end up in Europe, I don't think. I mean, Leno's a good keeper. He's literally saving us many games. I don't think he stays if we're not making it. And then there was also talk, there was also talk about Granit Xhaka leaving, and then he said no, he's not leaving. So you see the difference, the caliber of players, and the guys that want to stay, the guys that want to leave. So I think Leno leaves if we don't make it.
So guys, I sorry to interrupt, Wonga, but I can't tell if what has just happened in the game, because I'm not watching myself. Selo, did Fulham score? Did someone miss? Or did somebody just spill a lasagna all down the front of their shirts? Because your reaction...
Sorry. Rashford made it like he had a great skill just outside the box. What's it called? An elastico that, past the defender, and it was almost a penalty. It was just outside the box, so it's a free kick to United, not a penalty.
Good guess, man. Good guess with the lasagna, because you said elastico, the foot was moving like lasagna.
Like if you did that whilst eating lasagna, you would definitely spill it, right?
This is madness. Lasagna.
You see what Arjun is asking there about? He's saying that he doubts Kane will celebrate like RVP did against Arsenal. And you know what the funny thing about that, Arjun? I'll tell you, Arjun. Like for me, RVP, maybe I don't know the full story, but from what I've seen, an Arsenal fan, RVP was there at Arsenal. He was there for, I can't remember how many years he was there, but for many years he was injured. He didn't start. You know, many clubs would have let go of a player like that. You know, but Wenger kept him, and the season he did finished top goal
the
scorer.
season he was fit.
Listen,
was the one that
listen. No, but listen. So he no. The season he was fit. Where he finished. It was at Arsenal, and I think he finished top goal scorer. You know.
Oh, the season before he moved to United. Okay, yeah.
Yes, no, and he finished that season. He played a full season that time. I think 30-something games, and for me, I was. And I hear from his side that Arsenal didn't look, they kind of weren't interested in him. That's what he said. They lost interest in him. But I mean, I was saying, look, a team that's kept you for that long. I mean, and the kind of players we had playing in front of him, like I think he was the time that Henry was in front of him. He played next to Adebayor, and Wenger kept on keeping him there because obviously he believed in him. And when he left now and he came and he celebrated against Arsenal for whatever reason he did, in some way I thought it was like, justified. But then I saw Mesut Ozil in the way he got let go at the club, the way he stayed and the things he did to him. And he still speaks good things about the club, And I'm just thinking, RVP, he's just...
rubbish.
But also, I remember during that era, every Arsenal player was injured. Like you guys had I don't know what you guys used to do on the training ground. Like there was obviously some sort of Arsenal fight club where you guys are just
but he didn't finish.
But remember, Wenger was the first one. He transformed Arsenal in the beginning because he changed the methods and methodologies in terms of how they were training and everything else. And obviously, there's less emphasis on the physicality side of the football and more on the technical side. And they were technically superior. But when he took over at the time, where they were successful, he had physical players that were used to the English Premier League. And then it changed. And then that's where these injuries started 100%. Coming in.
But nonetheless, we treated him well. And he treated us
let's talk about Claudio's goal. Finally, guys, let's give him an opportunity.
Okay,
yeah, where's that White Stripe song?
1-0.
What do you mean 1-0? There was more. The game didn't start at the 90th minute, Claudio.
1-0, Claudio.
It's only 1-0 because this is the only goal I want to talk about.
Now we're just gonna rewrite history.
Come on, guys. This is the one. We might as well start from the back. Sometimes, some people read the book. They read books from the ending to the front. This is what we're going to start off with this moment.
Evil people.
My man,
people who don't
as soon as that goal was scored, everyone was celebrating. But I knew. I said, hey, bro, come Tuesday, we're going to hear this thing forever. I was like, yo, you just knew it.
Who are you talking to?
Guys, this guy Claudio was still talking about it. Guys, it seemed like it only registered yesterday that the goals happened. Like social media was just a buzz. Like him writing it and everything. I was like, what I thought this happened on Saturday. This is like, did you find only the pictures now of? Can
I just say something? Look, this look is actually ridiculous. But Settle is actually ridiculous because when Liverpool have a moment and anything gets said about Liverpool, it's like, oh, geez, the goal line is very biased. No, goal line is biased. But they're in the news. They did something special. Why can't we talk about it? I don't understand it. Can somebody explain that to me? No,
I haven't heard anything about Man United in the news, guys, and I've never seen it on Goal Lounge TV. I need to sign the petition. Will you sign the petition? Will you sign the petition?
Did any of you see Alisson's interview after the game? Any of you?
No, I didn't. I just watched the goal. That's all.
So it was pretty special. If you have time, go check it out. It was pretty emotional. He also mentions obviously as soon as he scores the goal, he goes back, he looks up, and you just know this is a special moment for the lad. And obviously he speaks about his dad.
Yeah, him celebrating with Thiago and Firmino, like obviously I think, he has a close bond with those guys, and I could see the emotions, and I could just see that moment in time. It was just saying, this is for you, Dad. I could see it. I didn't even have to watch a press conference after. I could just see in that moment that the tears was not about the goal, was about the fact that his dad had recently passed away, and those close friends hugging him the way they were hugging him. I just knew it meant so much more than just Liverpool being in the top four.
Yeah, I
which
think
is true.
that's something that we're going to probably end up hearing about after the fact with regards to this season. You know, we've all been locked down. The players have obviously had a certain amount of freedom, but they're still forced to be inside those bubbles.
Yeah.
So the players are probably closer now than they've ever been. You know, because normally if in a normal season Alisson had lost his dad, he would have been given the time to go home and properly grieve, and he would have come back when he was ready, and there would have been easy travel or whatever, and he would have been able to grieve and go through those moments with his family. Whereas this time around, he would have been leaning on his fellow players, and I think that's huge.
Yep.
And it was true. Like you know, as much as we tease or whatever, Claudia, about your reaction to the goal, you know, which is a little bit over the top. It was a last-minute winner against an already relegated West Brom. Like, calm down, mate. Yeah. But at the same time,
a goalkeeper, the first goalkeeper ever to score a goal.
That wasn't a.
With
That
his
wasn't
head.
a. That was,
With his head.
But
in the
it's
Premier
clear
League,
for the players on the field and the squad and even Klopp, that moment of release and that. You know,
I'm just so disappointed. Sorry, I'm so disappointed because what you were saying was so lovely, and you were getting somewhere, and there was actual substance to what you were saying, and then you said what you said.
No, but
keep going.
But it's clear, you know, it also reminds you of what Liverpool were. They were the mentality monsters, never give up, and that had fallen away for a large part of this season.
But on that note, of the mentality,
and then to come back and do it, it showed, and it was clear that that mental strength had remained, and it was still there, and they were kind of showing it again, and that was huge, and it was clear on the reaction of the players, and that's fantastic, and that is what football's about, you know, and I'm sure that the fans watching were just as emotional, yeah, and that is cool. Obviously, that's not going to stop us from teasing you, Claudio. That's also what football is about.
Come on, stop, boy! Come on! Fuck off.
Okay.
Another lasagna wasted.
I just want to talk about the mentality monsters. Liverpool are the only club to have won 38 games now in the history of the Premier League to have scored a goal in 90 minutes plus. So just on that point that you're talking about mentality monsters throughout, this official 38 games, scored in stoppage time. So that's why we always believe. Liverpool fans always say our season is next season, and we always believe until the last minute, and that is why. That is one of the reasons.
And also on this note, to go back to your homework analogy about Chelsea having too much on the go, you are the guys who sit there like just 5 minutes while you're standing in the line to go into class, quickly doing that homework. Like, come on, this is due now.
Sir. Yes, sir. That was exactly that game, and I mean, it's so
if it wasn't for the last minute, you'd never get anything done. No,
100%, and maybe that's why I'm a Liverpool fan. That's exactly why. But yeah, I just want to comment on this also. Mane, I don't know if you guys see, there's a clip on YouTube going. I think Liverpool have put it out on their YouTube channel where it's got every angle of the Alisson goal. There's a moment where they all come together, and there's one angle that actually shows Mane wiping his nose on the back of Philip's shirt. So
he just goes.
They all come in. Yeah, they all come in. No, they all come and celebrate, and he's like putting his head on Philip's back, and then he goes, and then he looks and he sees it like it's not if anyone's seen it. Oh, it was hilarious when I saw it. But that's funny. But about the game, I mean, it was a classic Sam Allardyce setup. They got the goal.
What about the disallowed goal?
Yeah, but I'm trying to get into that. I mean, I suppose we started from the back, so we might as well go to the middle now. Yeah, so that goal was pretty interesting. The goal that Liverpool equalized. I mean, if you are a West Ham fan, you can feel somewhat aggrieved because of what had happened. For me, Fabinho was running with the ball, the ref bumps into him, and obviously they call it back, and they actually give a foul for
damn it!
Fabinho. But it's in the middle of the park.
Fulham scored. Right? Fulham scored now. Yes, Fulham scored. Matthew, what you wanted, they scored.
Come on, you cottagers!
Can I just ask, when he scored the goal, was he holding and eating a lasagna?
I think that was a yes. Oh, he didn't have his bib on. Clearly, he didn't have his bib on. Anyway, so Fabinho gets given this free kick, right? It's actually a drop ball, is what it should be.
Yeah.
But the scenario is they're in the middle of the park. West Ham completely switch off because they see there's no danger here. West Brom. So they let this happen. No one testifies. No one says, no, this is not right. They continue. So the phase of play, there's still like 4 or 5 moments that happen afterwards. And to Mane's credit, he's had a shocking season, and it wasn't great in this game, but he wins the ball back. And then after all of that, something
overturned.
Carry on. Okay.
After all of that, Mane wins the ball back and Salah scores a beautiful goal, gets him back into the game. But then second half obviously happens and we're just doing the same thing time and time again. And you look at it and you go, Man City, they get faced with the same problem week in, week out. Difference is when they get to the final third, they don't just force it. The problem when you've got a player like Trent, who's a fantastic player, but the guy thinks he has to hit in a Beckham-esque sort of cross every damn time he goes down the wing. And sometimes that's just not good enough. And when you're looking, I don't know, I've been playing around in my head a little bit and I'm thinking and I'm going, you've got the likes of Mane, Salah, and Bobby. Bobby, out of the three, more technical, is meant to be the player that brings players into the game. And we're meant to use the physicality of Salah's pace and Mane's pace in behind, right? When a team's sitting that deep, those guys don't make those movements. So we are then very reliant on the midfield to kind of make those runs. The second, third, fourth runs that City do. We don't do that. We play in front of the guys. And then we reliant on the fullbacks. And then Trent thinks, hey, Beckham cross every time. And obviously that's easier to defend. And that's the one thing that they need to work out. And they need to come up within the 90th minute. But thankfully, we've got the Giants in the form of Alisson who managed to secure the win in the end. But it's just one of those scenarios where you're seeing this is exactly what we've seen the whole season. But in the end, the mentality monster sort of thing got us across the line. That was the difference.
And I've on that, Claudia, I've heard that there's talk that Trent might not be making it into the England squad for the Euros. If they leave him out, would you agree with that?
Well, I would be happy for it if they did leave him out because I think it would piss him off and give him more like something to work towards the next season. But I wouldn't blame Gareth Southgate for doing that. Because of how England are from a psychological perspective, they've got modern players who are technically good enough to take on other sides, but they're going to tournaments with an old school English mentality going, tournament football, if you keep it tight at the back and you keep a clean sheet, there's every chance of you progressing. And if you've got a Harry Kane, you can nick a goal, then you want to do that. So, and if you've got Trent there, you've got every chance of conceding because Trent is better going forward than he is defending. Also, let's also remember that Trent was a midfielder when he started out. An academy player, he was a midfielder. And that's why at every chance he gets, he's hitting a ball right across the field. He's bombing forward, trying to put it across again, like Beckham. That's exactly. But defending one-on-one, I wouldn't back him. They're stronger English right backs.
Yeah, I think
best defensive right back in the country.
I think definitely like Kieran Trippier and Walker. And if they choose a third one, will probably be Reece James. I think. But I think Trent should go with Trippier and Walker. Walker and Trippier obviously are the more experienced 30-year-olds, 31-year-olds, whatever. And then Trent is the one who's under 20, who's 23, younger than 23. So if you look at him against Reece James, I think Trent just offers something different to Trippier and Walker. But Walker and Trippier have that solidity. So let's say you're chasing a goal. You wanna, I don't know, you losing and you wanna attack a bit more with your right back, and your right back is Walker at that time. You put in Trent on, or if you're playing three at the back, a 3-5-2 or whatever, Trent on the right, Shaw on the left, or whoever you choose on the left. If whoever the left-sided person is, then you can have that Trent. I think Trent just needs to be in there. If you pick three right backs, that's if you pick three. If you're only picking two, then you must pick Walker and Trippier.
And here's the thing, though: if you pick a Trent, you give yourself a problem as a manager, because a Trent is a player who believes he needs to be starting week in, week out, and you don't want him disgruntled. You don't want him affecting the players. Not saying he's going to go there and be like, this manager's a dickhead, what. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but you're going to feel the sort of, his feeling of being disappointed, being left out, and it's going to affect the team morale. And if you're a manager, this whole Euros thing of taking extra players is actually a huge problem for a manager. You don't want extra players. You want your first 11, and you want your fringe players who are happy just to be there and help out in the dying seconds. That's all you want. Yeah. So
France have brought back Benzema it's been confirmed.
They're going to be huge.
Benzema's back. Benzema versus Giroud. F1 versus a go-kart. They've had that battle. Because Benzema calls himself the F1 and says Giroud is the go-kart. So it's back. The battle is on.
Well, here's the thing though. Giroud's just not playing, and then you've got Benzema who's scoring. There's no ways they could not call him back. There's just no ways.
True, they had to call him back. Yeah. He's been hot. He's been the best striker in La Liga, and he's been banging in the goals, and he's been literally carrying Real Madrid. But I think Trent, it's an interesting one. We'll see when England does announce their team. I think Gareth Southgate's got a lot of decisions to make. You know, we've discussed the Fodens, the Mounts, the Grealishes, and all those other guys. The Greenwood. Does Greenwood now come because he's on form? So it's a lot.
Yeah,
it is a lot.
And Ndombele's not in. Ndombele's not in, but Sissoko's in.
Yeah.
See, there's another one that he's just going on the guys that he trusts, I guess, which is Sissoko.
I like the admin over here. Trent has a young bull mindset. I agree with that. Wonga, we just want to talk about Arsenal here. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. We might look. Man United's playing Fulham as we speak. We know Spurs are going to play, but the Crystal Palace versus Arsenal game is an interesting one to cover, largely because Roy Hodgson has come out, or it's been said. I don't know if he's come out saying it, but he's not going to be at Crystal Palace next season. We know there's talks of Frank.
He needs to retire, yeah.
No, wait. Let's just slow it down. Yeah, you're missing where I'm leading up to this. We've got obviously Lampard coming into this Crystal Palace job, which is the most likely. But now Arsenal and Newcastle have the chance to fight over Roy Hodgson. That's saying he was at Liverpool. I had to endure him for a season at Liverpool. Why can't you endure him at Arsenal? That's what I'm saying. Although I think the club would go down if that happened.
Would he be worse than Arteta? I mean, look, for all the stick he gets as an older guy, and that he's actually done a pretty good job building a solid Palace side there. You know, look at their performance the other day. On the weekend, they came from behind. They won 3-2. They've got he's built there a really smart side. They obviously he's blessed with some amazing players. Eze and Zaha and Benteke's having an amazing season. But that said, he's unlocked a really good combination there. And we forget, it wasn't that long ago that everyone kept saying, oh, Palace is a one-man side. If there wasn't Zaha, they'd be nowhere,
True.
And now there's a really good balance to the squad. And I think we've got to give credit to Roy Hodgson for reinventing that and reinventing himself quite a lot. So I think, you know, jokes aside, if you went to Arsenal, would they do worse than they are now? I don't know. I think they might do a bit better. I think he'd go there.
You'd make sure they stay mid-table, that's for sure. That's one thing he's good at.
Yeah, so at least you wouldn't get relegated.
I think mid-table
is maybe ambitious. I don't know. What do you say?
It's not anything that.
But what happened there? You scared him.
He froze again.
No, because we put him in the kitchen now. It's getting hot. His internet just knows. We need to get him an internet cable for this. But yeah, from the Arsenal perspective, I think it's a tough time to be an Arsenal fan. We all know this, but I think moving forward next season's going. Yes, he's back, Wonga. Yes.
Oh, come on, Riff.
Nah, look, like you were saying, Claudio, it is a tough time to be an Arsenal fan. But I mean, jokes aside, I mean, Crystal Palace is I think at times they pose. That's the problem with them. They pose a threat. Time they got the players to beat Arsenal. But they do have the players. They definitely have the players to beat Arsenal. And now they've just lost. They've just won. They're coming off a win now. On the weekend, and I think they scored 3 goals. And that's the thing about the victory.
What's
you're changing
now?
it. Jeez, I thought I froze again. Oh, geez.
No.
I thought I froze again. But yeah, look, I think Arsenal, we need the win. But like I always say this, we need the win, and then come the weekend, we lose. Only looks like Arteta only interested in beating top 6 if it comes to it. But I think Arsenal, for me, even with this result, we lose or we win. For me, if we lose or we win, wouldn't make a difference to me. I can't lie to you. I would.
But you guys need to get closer to the top 7, man. I think if you guys just miss out,
it's gonna look. It's dependent on the other teams ahead of us. And I'm looking at Leeds. I'm looking at Everton, West Ham, Tottenham, Liverpool. Do we honestly think that they're going to be dropping points during the next couple of matches? I think Arsenal do have the easier games, but on paper we have the easier games. But looking at what we've done with these so-called easier games throughout the season, possibly we lose one. We lose one of those games. But we've got many problems. I mean, look, we've got Granit Xhaka. They said the funny thing is Granit Xhaka. There were rumors that he was going to leave and go back to Germany, but he's come out saying, no, that's not true. Kind of sad to me.
You know, I
But then
feel,
you've
you know,
got
I feel,
Leno.
I feel bad for you because he's gonna stay there until he walks out free, until no one renews his contract.
I reckon he put that rumor out there to see how many German clubs would call him up and be like, "Hey, we're waiting for you," and then the phone didn't ring, so he was like, "No, I'm staying."
And then we also have, I think, with Odegaard as well. He's also on this. They've been asking him if he wants to stay or not, and apparently he's being coy with his replies on whether he's going to be staying or not. He's saying
I'd also be coy.
It's like I'm loving Arsenal, but it's all up to Madrid if I can stay another season. So he knows.
You know what Arsenal are? Arsenal, the
happen.
girl on the side that he's just entertained, and you know, there's always been that number one. You know, the one that he wants to go back to, and now they're asking, you know, are we a thing now? Are we a thing? And he's just like, yeah.
So like, so for me, I think
you pay for dinner, and I'll stick
Arsenal
around.
wants to update the Facebook status, but he's like, no, not yet.
Exactly. So I think for me, I'm just that's where my head is at the moment. I don't think we're gonna make it. It's mathematically it's possible
to Europe,
but I don't think we're gonna make it to Europe. And I think we need a season where we probably not. We're out. But at the same time, you know, when you're building, you need the right people to build your team. You know, and if you've got the wrong people, that period of building can be it can end up fatal for us. You know, we can end up close to relegation if we don't get the right people. I mean, we've got our guys. We want our Kroenke out, but they insistent, and they've been there for a long time. I think more than definitely more than 7-8 years they've been there in the club. You know, and now they want, like when Spotify, these guys were from Spotify came in, they said they've obviously the reply to them was that look. The reply to everyone was that no, we're here and we have long-term goals for Arsenal. But I mean, geez, it's already been a long-term, and this is what we've actually just gone down. So what's going to change? I mean, if you're going to change anything, because in Kroenke he never used to have all the Arsenal shares.
Wonga, it just shows you how much Wenger was doing for that club. Because he was a man driving the club in all aspects of its operations, and they let him to his to his own devices, and he kept you guys in the top four, and that wasn't enough.
But you think about it, Claudio, he also, if you think about it, Wenger was there, yes, but with Wenger, there's also the period where they went down, and then I think that was also the same time when Kroenke actually ended up taking up all the shares for the club, you know. And now we're going down, and now he wants to stay for longer, you know. And by right, you can't chase him away, you know. Well, maybe we can, but
so Wonga, I just want to say this. So, do Arsenal finish in a European place this season? Yes or no?
No.
Okay,
no, like
next season, what are your realistic aspirations?
Oof. Look, I can only judge that by what happens, what movement we see in the summer. And the way the guys are playing, because
but how much can
I can't just say.
I mean, how much can really change? Can you? What are you going to change managers? Do you think you guys are going to change managers? Liverpool didn't go from 10th to winning the league, though.
Yeah, they gradual. Gradual.
Yeah, there's a gradual, and how much of that is going to come if Arteta's still there? Your vast majority of your players are still going to be there. Might be one or two big signings, maybe. Realistically, and I ask not because I'm mocking you, that like it's Spurs are in a similar situation where realistically, what can we hope if we realistically you're looking at 2 or 3 places either way, up or down, probably over the course of the season, and that's and the scary thing would be to go down, because then in 2 seasons' time you're in a relegation scrap. But the challenge is how much can you really change, and do we have the right, both Spurs and Arsenal, do you have the right people making the decisions that are going to move you on the right direction in that path? And I think it's a tough one. So as much as I agree, there's certain things we can only know. I mean, Spurs are in the same situation. What's going to happen to Kane? Who's going to be the manager? There's a lot of unknowns. But at the same time, how much would it take to change for you to be able to come in? Like, how much would have to happen for you to arrive here on the first show of next season and go, Arsenal are doing top 4 this season? Like, you'd need probably a different manager and about 6 signings.
I think
Xhaka would have to just agree to just be the Gunnosaurus and not play.
at the start, this man had so much confidence. We were like, no party, party, party,
party time.
party time.
Okay.
That's the cut thing, like I say,
if I played in the same team as Partey, I would never get sick of that joke. I would do it every time he came in.
Every morning. Every morning.
He would be so sick of me. He would convince a club to sell me just so that he didn't have to deal with it.
Could you imagine if you're Lingard? Lingard would do it. We're like, hey, Partey! That's Lingard's life, bro. That is his life.
We should find out where he lives and just drive past his house doing that. Like, I bet he'll love it.
All right, guys. To wrap up, we're going to talk about today. Today, something significant happened, and it was a huge indication as to how the scale of the world fan base is tipped. And it was the induction of Cantona and Keane, 2 Man United players consecutive. There are only 6 players that are being added to this Hall of Fame that were done through votes of the fans. And these are the first 2 players added, 2 consecutive Man United players, which again shows you the force of United fandom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But also, I mean, that also implies that these guys don't necessarily deserve it. I think a lot of non-United fans would vote for these 2.
He's implying.
I voted for one of them.
He's implying that Man United players don't deserve it when Man United have won the most. When Man United players have won the most Premier League. No, you're questioning. You're saying
I wasn't questioning it.
No, but you're saying that it shows that the fan power of Man United right now. That's what you said, right?
I'm saying it's still there, 100%. But what I'm saying is, out of this 23-man list, out of this list, 2 consecutive Man United players.
100%. Because they did a mistake, but they made a mistake by not including a Man United player. They should have done the first 3. Should have been Shearer, Terry, and Thierry Henry, and a Man United player. Because Man United
now you sound like all these Premier League refs that make a mistake and they try and make up for it somewhere. That's not what it is. All I'm saying is there are a lot of Man United fans in the world, and they should be happy about that. And I'm not saying they're not deserving. I'm not saying they're not. I voted for one of them. I said Cantona should be on that list.
Greatest Premier League captain. He deserves it.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but what I'm saying is there are other players that could have been mentioned as well. Why 2 consecutive Man United players?
That's the nature of how this works, Claudio. We can't. The Hall of Fame doesn't let's list every single player all at once. There has to be an order to it, and these guys came out on top. Can I just say that in the week where the FA Cup final happened between Leicester and Chelsea, in the week where Harry Kane announced he'd like to leave Spurs, in our show, we've had 2 separate instances where Liverpool and Man United have had screaming arguments about nonsense. Arguing over goal of the season between a header and a little dink, and now arguing over the unfairness of voting for favorite players.
The game ended 1-1 against Fulham.
So when we talk about the bias of the show, I'd like to put my hand up.
Exactly right.
Okay, but if we all right, no, fair enough. We touched on the Leicester winning the FA Cup and okay, but we're going to talk about Cantona, Keane. Cantona, Keane. Obviously, these are 2 really good players. They've done a lot for their club, obviously. While they're there, but gentlemen, yep.
They've also done a lot for the Premier League, and I think that's the point. The point of the Hall of Fame is that Cantona was kind of that first superstar. He was the first foreign superstar. He was the first non-English kind of worldwide known, and he was known for so much. Obviously, his football was incredible. His persona was he was charismatic and impressive and arrogant and fun. And in many ways, Keane was slightly later, a slightly different mold. But again, that same kind of there was more to him than just the football. And I think the challenge we're at now is that it's so early. The Hall of Fame only just launched, so it's so early that inevitably people are seeing whenever they put one new player in, people are going, "Oh, but what about these other 700 guys?" Over time, that will diminish.
No, there's just another 23. No, that's everyone's just going.
they're not going to live in it at 23 forever. Like, let's be honest. They're going to make a lot of money off of this. They'll eventually make it a much bigger Hall of Fame. The hall will get bigger. It's just social distanced for now. Okay. Like,
okay. All right. Yeah.
But I think that's the point. What we're seeing is
they should have a virtual Hall of Fame wall, though. You should be able to go onto the websites and like take you through. They should do that.
They should actually have a digital avatar of every player so you can have conversations with them whilst you're in there.
Imagine.
So like, and Roy Keane just stands there and never answers a question, just looks at you like,
nah, get back to training, man. Treat time. They want treat time.
Yeah, like that's anyway. But I think that's part of the challenge we're in now is that we're looking at it. A lot of people are debating it in the wrong way, and they're saying, but what about other players? Why are we including him and not him? And actually, what we've got to understand is, like him or not like him as an individual, these players did immense amounts for football, for the Premier League, and achieved lots. Yeah. And I think in that case, they're both hugely deserving. And they're both fantastic characters.
I think pointing out the fact
as you put it, you know, I mean, I think if you look at it, for instance, like the fact that Thierry Henry is I think arguably the greatest foreign player to play in the Premier League. Then you've got Shearer, who's the leading goal scorer in the Premier League, and then now you've got Cantona, who's one of the earlier superstars of the Premier League, and then you've got Keane, who's arguably the greatest captain. And then I think now what the next guys that are going to come through are, you know, you might find might be the greatest. What's his greatest English player in the Premier League? You know, whoever that is. You know, I think it will be those kind of players that there is something to them than just them as players. And as you said, Matt, is that they've actually influenced the Premier League and actually got it to where it is to be this global brand. You know, so I think definitely the names that are going to come up are going to be guys who've actually contributed a lot.
I think also we are probably somewhat sadly for the rest of us, it is going to skew United's way because for the vast majority of the Premier League history, and bear in mind, a lot of these players are being drawn from the past.
But that's natural, right?
And during that era, United won all the time. So it's going to be, there are going to be probably a lot more United players than other clubs, which it is what it is. And that's a reflection of what the Premier League looked like for a long time. I think if they were to do another one of these in the next 5-6 years, or 10 years
Chelsea,
from now, when a lot of this generation have retired, you'd see a lot more of the likes of Terry and Aguero and those guys. So you've got to also understand these things for what they are. And also, it's all just a massive publicity thing to have something to do during the era of lockdown. So, you know, it keeps us busy and it stops us complaining about the ESL.
Yeah. And I think all I wanted to say is that who's the next? Well, two things. Firstly,
next four. Yeah.
Also, when you're looking, who do you think the next one's going to be added to this list? But then the other thing is, I also want to show you how skewed football is in terms of how we go about praising footballers. Because on this list, there's one goalkeeper, and again, out of the top four that have been mentioned, not one defender. And I understand like goals and assists and everything else get the glory. That's just how it is. But you've got these guys that were hugely immense for their sides. Maybe they're gonna balance it out, and the next person being nominated is going to be a defender or goalkeeper. But like I said, the only goalkeeper is Peter Schmeichel, which then would mean another Man United player. So, and I wouldn't put it past.
No, I think we should. I think we should put. Already we've got an Arsenal player. Is it too early? Is it too early to bring? Is it too early to bring in? No, I was thinking.
Now you're trying to take away one thing that's going right for Arsenal.
I was trying to bring in Tony. I was trying to bring in either like a Dennis Bergkamp or a Tony Adams. Tony Adams. Is Tony Adams on the list? Is Tony Adams on the list?
Yeah, it is.
I think historically, these things always go the way of strikers and stuff. You know, the Ballon d'Or, it's only ever been won by one defender or two defenders or whatever. And
true.
It is always because, and look, we're all guilty of it. When you were kids, how many of you had defenders on the back of your shirt when you were growing up? It's not the part of the game. How emotional did you get for Alisson's goal? How many times have you got that emotional for a save he's made? And he does those every week. So, you know, it is the nature of how we react to the game.
I mean, Schmeichel kept his side in the FA Cup this week, and if it wasn't for him, it would have been a different result. So it's a huge, for like father, like son, I suppose. Okay, but let's say, because we've got to go, we've got 7 minutes left on the show. Gentlemen, next player to be nominated, who do you think it is?
I haven't seen the full list of nominees.
I think Vieira.
Yeah, I'm thinking Ish, but I wanted to bring in the Chelsea player, but maybe Ish, man, the Chelsea players.
For what?
I think if bring a Terry
For what?
I think we can bring in Terry now, bro. Let's bring in Terry. Let's bring in John Terry. I think let's bring in John Terry to bring in a defender. I'm not saying he's the greatest of all time, but I'm just saying a defensive player would be great now. And I think John Terry should be the guy.
Patrick Vieira.
John Terry.
Yeah.
Guys didn't hear me.
So you're saying John Terry, Patrick Vieira.
Yeah. Even Dennis Bergkamp, goodness me. Didn't they already put him there already, or was it me?
No, Dennis Bergkamp, not yet.
I think one of those two. Dennis
Did you
Bergkamp,
vote? Did you vote for one of those?
No.
I'd love to see Matt Letizia. I'd love to see Matt Letizia get in.
Yeah,
just because he represents a certain aspect of football. You know, he was a one club man. He stayed with the clubs that didn't really do a lot while he was there, but he scored 100 Premier League goals. He was a real flair player, you know, dribbling players and creating chances for others. He was such a fun player to watch. And he kind of represented a part of the Premier League that it came to be represented by now. Like now when we talk about the Premier League, we talk about those kind of that excitement and that, but that wasn't always what English football was about. You know, the old First Division days, it was a bit far more of a slog. So I think he'd be a good shout for it. You're
right. Actually, I forgot about him. Yeah.
That's actually, now that you put...
Yeah, big respect to that man. Yeah. Matt Letizia, definitely, yeah. Then Patrick Vieira of Dennis Bergkamp.
Did you vote though, Wonga? Did you vote at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't know where you would vote.
How are these guys going to be on there if you didn't vote? It was open.
I think there's other Arsenal fans. There's at least 3 more. I know them.
Oh, I didn't know the vote, didn't
No, it was open. Okay, but look, Matt, you put a convincing argument. I think Matt Letizia...
Yeah, for all of you watching, please go vote for Matt Letiz. And when he wins it, I expect a shout out in his thank you speech.
Yeah. All right. I suppose that's it. Yeah. So Wonga. Okay. So you got to pick 4. Let's say pick 4 now, because Wonga's already picked. He's picked Matt Letizia, because there's 6 from the fans' sort of perspective. Wonga's gone. Matt Letizia. He's gone. Dennis Bergkamp, and you've gone Vieira. Who's your last one, Wonga?
Scroll down.
I'm surprised you don't put him on there. Yeah, right.
It is rough. Yes, it's Claudio. You know
what I'm going to do to balance this out? You guys know what I'm going to do to balance all of this out.
I would say Steven Gerrard. Can't lie. He has to be there.
Oh, Wonga for the win. Yes, Wongs. He has to be in there. He has to. If fans aren't voting for this guy, they're just sick. They're just jealous and sick. That's what they are. Sick in the head. Anyway, Matt. Okay, you got 3 more.
I got 3 more. So I've said Matt Letizia.
Yep.
You missed Vieira.
Les Ferdinand. I'll go Les Ferdinand. I love that way he played. He had an eye for goal. Spent some time at Spurs.
You're not going to go with a former Spurs player.
Who's that guy? I've never heard of him before. Doesn't look familiar to me. Is that you say that? Is it Sol or Sol? I just
sucks your soul, maybe. I don't know.
No, that's couldn't vote for someone I don't know. So no, I'll go Les Ferdinand, Matt Letizia. Robbie Fowler. I've always liked a striker.
Good man.
You know,
yeah.
Robbie Fowler was fun to watch.
Robbie Fowler, remember, for a long time he had the fastest hat trick to his name. Yeah. So, I mean, he also, when you're talking about adding to the history of the Premier League, he's one of those, and his famous celebration of sniffing the line as if he was doing cocaine. That's one of those things that's up there.
So, and then I think I'd go Peter Schmeichel just because of what he represented. He was just, every game he was in, he was the largest man on the field. You know, days when United weren't playing well, he could stand up and he'd galvanize the entire side. And his love for the club remained. You know, he's just a solid goalkeeper. I think he'd make a lot of sense. He'd have to be a nominee, surely. So yeah, those would be my 4.
I think that's a good shot for 4 there. You guys know what I'm going to do for number 1. You all know it's got to be him, Steven Gerrard. It's got to be Steven Gerrard. Matt Letizia definitely on my other list because of what you guys said, valid arguments. And then obviously I can't leave out this guy. Robbie Fowler's got to be there. And then one last one. Yeah. Oh, and then it's got to be Dennis Bergkamp, guys.
Oh,
for me, what this guy did. Also, check this out from a quick view perspective. Look what he did. For me, it wasn't only the goals that he did. Look, 315 appearances, 87 goals, the assists that he created. So we talk about Henry being one of the first names in this Hall of Fame, but 94 assists. Think about the influence he had on Henry's career. Unbelievable. Yeah. Dennis Bergkamp.
I think he even Henry mentioned it. I think he said all the players, most of the players he play around, and I think he mentioned, if I'm not wrong, it was Dino Bergkamp or Perez, but he said that they were the most unselfish players that he's played around. They said that literally they found joy in giving you the goal. You know, that's what he was saying about them. So
yeah.
No surprise.
It was I mean, and also the way he created the chances as well. He had such vision. He was such an intelligent footballer. But I couldn't possibly vote for him.
And on that note, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Whoever's on the line, from Arjun to Lelo to the others that were there. I didn't see many other comments there, but gentlemen, thank you very much. Wonga, Matt, enjoy your evening. And remember,
same to you.
If you don't know what to
be cool.
Yay, gentlemen! We are nailing that. Well done. Awesome. Now I've